Welcome to the internet, live from fabulous Salt Lake City and /or Logan.
Woohoo!
This is the Red Line Podcast. I'm your host, quote, I wish I was in Canada sometimes, Dunstan, and these are my co-hosts.
Kyle, quote, entitled American who thinks he can immigrate anywhere but is unwilling to accept that anybody else could immigrate anywhere, close quote, Holland, and...
Alex, quote, the cat just jumped on the bed. This cat will not leave me alone. Close quote, Fielder. Sorry, I'm trying to catch the cat. Today we're discussing everyone's second favourite Albertan city, Edmonton. Just how did they end up with one of the continent's best light rail systems, and where's their system going next? All this after the news.
So is this one in French Canada, or is it not?
It is
that
very
just
not in
Quebec?
French Canada, Kyle.
Okay, I didn't know if there was like a French Canada like blast radius or anything.
I think that's all of Canada.
Noted. Do.
San Jose strikes again today as a California state senator from the South Bay has introduced a bill to the California legislature that would ban Caltrain from selling its old diesel trains. From the article, quote, this is no way to run a railroad by taking the diesel off California's carbon footprint, then putting it right back on in Peru. Are we not all fighting to decarbonize the same air? Cortez said in a statement. Quote, as a world leader in decarbonizing our transportation sector, we need to lead on this. We need to be serious about decarbonization worldwide, unquote. The senator, however, seems oblivious to the financial implications that this could have for Caltrain and to the fact that diesel trains take cars and trucks off the road in Peru as much as electric ones do in the United States.
How many times have you said on our broadcast that California has all the worst parts of liberalism and only occasionally the good parts?
Oh, I don't think I ever said it like that before, but that is a good way to sum it up. It's not like a good, like, you couldn't, I don't know, be like, do a little bit of research and figure out that, oh, this train that they're selling it to in Peru is going to take as many as 150,000 people off the road and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 20,000 tons a year. But, you know, let's let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And
If you hop a couple states over to Utah, we're very excited about our diesel train that gets, what is it, like half a mile to the gallon?
Yep,
and
half a mile.
The massive emissions savings that generates because the per rider emissions are way lower than personal vehicles.
I don't know. It's probably just like San Jose like car blindness, but like, oh, cars, that's not a problem for climate change, but trains, you know, big pollution.
Well, it would be politically unpopular to go after cars more than California already does.
Which is
but
barely,
you can get
let's
away
be clear.
Yeah, but you can get away with going after public transit. And then you can whine about how public transit is fundamentally evil because you went after it and made it either suck or be more expensive.
I thought this was the Republican playbook, not like the centrist Democrat from San Jose playbook.
It's occasionally also the California environmentalists' playbook.
Ah, that's not shocking. California environmentalists are the worst type of environmentalists because they're not actually environmentalists.
Well,
anyway, this has been the news.
Do.
Okay. So, Edmonton. Canada, that's right. It's in Alberta.
Oh, speaking of Canada news, did you hear that the anti-bike lane bill passed?
I did, but I don't really care. Toronto deserves
anti-bike
every
lane.
evil it gets.
Can you elaborate on this, Kyle?
Okay, so the government of the province of Ontario, which like contains Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not much else, let's be clear. Except like
this is
Kitchener.
again. This has the vibe of like the bills the Utah legislature passes that affect the capital city of Utah or the big city in Utah. Anyways, so the government of Ontario passed this big like package bill that does about three main things. One, it calls for the immediate removal of 3 major bike lane projects that have already been built and are already well loved in Toronto at a current cost estimate of about $50 million to undo those projects. It makes all future bike lane projects in the entire province of Ontario that might dare take away any amount of space from cars be subject to provincial review and approval, which, if you couldn't tell, that's code for they're not happening. And thirdly, it exempts a bypass of a bypass highway from environmental review and fast tracks that for construction.
Man, I guess they're not progressive conservatives after all. I think they're just conservative conservatives.
Well, there's also a healthy dose of pretty cut and dry corruption with provincial premier, I think is what they use instead of governor. Doug Ford, Dougie McDougface. I don't respect him, so I'm going to call him nicknames. There's some probably pretty cut and dry corruption with land development around the new freeway happening. So this is unsurprising.
Wow. I like how people are conservative until it's something they don't like. Like they'll spend that much money to remove something that's already been paid for.
Well, yeah, because it's wokeifying our kids to be able to take the train.
Well, no, because getting rid of the bike lanes will solve traffic in Toronto.
Oh. You mean the city with the world's widest freeway has traffic problems? I am shocked.
And removing the bike lane on the street that has a subway underneath it will solve traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Naturally.
Clearly.
No, but I'm pissed at this, not only because it actually passed and will actually affect the lives of real people and will probably kill several people too, but I'm also pissed that the Ontario government is just needlessly pitting the cyclists and drivers of the general public against each other. Like, this is enough of a problem already and causes enough road rage already. The provincial, not governor, premier, really should not be actively pitting cyclists and drivers, everyday people on the roads, against each other. That's just dangerous and unhealthy in the long term.
Yep. Anyway.
Also, evil highway bypass, blah, blah, blah. They sold their toll road bypass and nobody uses it because it costs money. So they're going to build a free bypass of the toll road.
Oh.
Yeah. This is a very Texas moment they're having.
Okay. Anyway.
Back to the different part of Canada. Where the hell is Edmonton?
Alberta.
Is it on like the line that has half of Canada?
It's north of Calgary.
Where's Calgary?
How do
It's
you
It's been a
not...
while since I played Ticket to Ride.
The geographic literacy of this podcast today is not impressing me.
Oh, okay, so it's like in the middle. Well, because you've got the line that's got Toronto and everything else. It's over by the northeast, right? The second northeast, the Canadian northeast, if you will. And then you've got Vancouver, which is the Canada-specific northwest. And then you've got everything else, I guess. That's what I understand Canada to be.
Well, and then you have Edmonton, Calgary, and Winnipeg, and not much else, to be completely honest with you. But
Again,
yeah,
it's been a while since I've played Ticket to Ride. Sorry, I forgot where they are on the little picture.
it's like the northernmost major city in North America.
Good for them.
Yeah,
It's got a river.
There's oil there.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
Big industrial town still. So, like, if you look at it, there's just, like, these huge swaths of, like, industrial land all over the place.
So like the Rust Belt if it didn't rust.
Yeah, kind of.
I'm looking at the map right now, and they have quite an interesting highway system.
Yeah, it doesn't go downtown, like, period.
This is almost
Yeah.
like Parisian vibes.
Like a huge ring road.
And it's
And
not,
then a
like,
couple,
particularly freeway-ish either in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So,
It looks like Denver, but good.
I think that is not the worst description I've heard, honestly.
What? Because it's cold and it's roughly in the shape of a circle.
It's cold, it's a circle, but
And
it
it's
has
front
good
range.
trains instead of bad ones.
Instead of the RTP.
The RTD, you mean?
No, RTP. I'm pissing on it.
Oh, RTP refers to a international relations concept. So, like,
poli-sci major.
You know what? Shut
Yeah,
up.
whatever.
I know
My
what-
made-up acronym supersedes your real one.
Okay. So, despite the fact that it is in the middle of nowhere and only has like 1.5 million people, Edmonton now has more riders than it did before the pandemic and a shockingly effective rail system. And like
Impressive.
more daily riders than Portland.
Jeez.
Okay, and isn't Portland a little bit bigger?
Portland is like 1 3/4. 1 3/4 of an Edmonton, or maybe 2/3. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They are also, as I have put in this picture, members of the very exclusive Skybridge Over Light Rail Club, as you can see.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Look at that.
Ooh. I'm also loving this like one way they've got going.
Yeah, very fancy. It's the only good bikeway in the
Except-
city.
Well, except it's only one way for the drivers and it's two way for everything else. Pretty impressive.
I kid you not when I say it's the only good bikeway in the city.
Oh, that's a little bit depressing.
So
Nice,
how
though.
did
High
they?
budget transit mall?
I'm sorry.
High budget transit mall, anyone?
I don't think that is a transit mall because cars go on it.
Okay, close enough.
No,
Like if our main street looked like that, I really would not be complaining.
our main street does look like that. Our main street is better
it
than that because
doesn't.
there's trees on it instead of just like a ton of depressing concrete.
Ooh, true.
Like there is no nature here. There is like some like weeds growing in these little gutters here, and that's it.
A ringing endorsement.
I love to have weeds in my gutter.
I was gonna say it's pretty textbook. City did a road reconstruction and trees got the back seat after everybody else got made happy and there was no space left.
Joe Biden
Salt Lake is not exempt from
again.
doing the exact same thing.
Anyway, so how did they do it? Well, to do that,
Joe
we have
Biden.
to talk about history. Oh my gosh,
The history
shocking.
of Joe Biden.
Yes, Kyle, the history of Joe Biden, which is very relevant
Joe
to the
Biden's
history
from
of
Edmonton.
Joe Biden is from Delaware, Kyle.
The Edmonton of the US.
I mean, Alberta is a tax haven, so they're not as dissimilar as you might think. So, Edmonton got into the public transit game rather late. Their first electric streetway began operation in 1908 as the Edmonton Radio
Damn skill
Railway.
issue.
What?
Major skill issue.
Oh.
Taking that long. Like everybody else was putting these in as they were being invented.
I think that Edmonton was not like, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Edmontonians, but Edmonton didn't have like any people until the 1900s.
You did mention they were a big industrial town.
Yeah. After World War II, mostly.
Yeah,
And that
it's an
was
oil.
after 1908.
Very true. Like, stunning observation, Sherlock Holmes.
You ready for the city borders population of Edmonton in 1908?
Yeah.
Anybody want to make a guess?
14.
18,500
Oh, that's close.
to 14. Yeah, sure. Mind you, this is up from 14,000 just 2 years prior and 8,000 just 4 years prior. So they really had this big boom. So that's probably when they got the electric railway.
So, ow, mother trucker. Freaking.
That hurt like a butt cheek on his dick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What?
Service expanded from an initial 13 miles of track on opening day to a whopping 56 by 1920. The ERR had its busiest year in 1929, and then it was all downhill from there. Discerning listeners may remember something rather important happening in 1929.
The 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah, that, but worse, actually.
Just a bit worse. A tiny bit.
We're making the worst comparisons on this episode.
Well, I mean, the Great Depression is basically the 2009 financial crisis, but worse. So, I mean, there is a reason they called it the Great Recession, because it was the worst since the Depression. So,
That's depressing.
Yes.
yes, that's the point. So service
So after the
declined.
Great Depression, everything was terrible, and
Yeah, service declined throughout the 1930s, and trolley substitution began to be considered at the end of the decade. The city ultimately wound up buying its first trolley buses just before the outbreak of the Second World War. The war provided a reprieve for the ailing service. Ridership skyrocketed because of Edmonton's booming industrial might, and trolley buses were hard to come by since rubber was being rationed.
World War II versus every transit route ridership graph in the entire continent.
Just kind of a spike.
Yeah, if you drive alone, you drive with Hitler.
That's right. If you drive alone, you drive with Putin. It was also during the war that Edmonton introduced its famous library streetcar, which traveled the city,
Ooh.
raising the morale of residents. And we have a lovely public
That's
domain
fun.
picture of it right here.
That's very cool.
That's actually adorable.
I like that there's a dog
is-
in here. I don't know why the dog needs to go to the library.
I don't know. Morale?
Morale. It does look like
This
it's
innovation
raising those
has to
kids'
be a-
morale.
Yeah, this has got to be up there with the innovation of sorting mail on moving trains.
Oh, yeah.
That and libraries, and we're set. Oh, and chapels, I guess.
So we've had church trains, we've had library trains, we've had food trains, we've had post office trains. What type of trains have we not had yet? Listeners, come up with a new type of train.
I think that's going to be harder than you might think.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Playground train for the children.
They have that in Finland.
Oh, we're just not cool.
Yeah, we just suck.
Red light train.
Oh boy.
Oh, Alex, wow.
Well,
I'm sorry, not on
Am
Joe
I wrong?
Biden's Christian Amtrak.
no. I'm
So
thinking
the
of a...
reprieve was short-lived. Despite wartime shortages, substitution continued throughout the war and accelerated after its conclusion. Trolley car number 1, by then more than 40 years old, made its last run in September of 1951. The streetcars still survive, though, through the efforts of the Edmonton Railway Society, which operates a heritage service over the once crucial high-level bridge south of downtown. And we have a lovely picture of that here.
That is
That's
quite
impressive
lovely.
that a place this normal size was able to preserve an entire heritage service. Like that's usually something I'd only pin on San Francisco.
I don't know, it's pretty common. Like Dallas has one. I guess Dallas is a very large city, isn't it?
Doesn't St. Louis have one too?
That's a modern heritage streetcar. That was built recently.
Ah.
Like this one I think dates to the 70s. So it was like a pretty
Okay, and also
contemporary.
Dallas, I believe, is much bigger than Edmonton.
Oh, Dallas is much bigger than Edmonton.
Yeah. So again, that's in the really high population bracket. Oh my goodness, 7.6 million metro. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like what, 3/4 of a Bay Area?
Yeah. The standard unit of population.
Seattle, 1/3 of a Bay Area. Portland, 1/4 of a Bay Area. New
Now,
York.
how many football fields of
Bay
crush-loaded BART
areas.
cars is that?
So, trolley bus and bus operations continued to be Edmonton's only transit services for almost 30 years, until light rail fever had its beginnings. Why are you having
I'm
an
like
evil laugh? This is
1980.
a good thing.
I'm like 1980s Obama or whoever did light rail.
Pierre Elliott Trudeau or something.
Did Canada decide to just follow the trends of the United States when it comes to transit?
So, give me just a sec, and you will learn something very interesting. So, Edmonton experienced massive growth following the end of the Second World War, and planners began to regret getting rid of their system's primary mass transit service. So beginning in the 1960s, plans were drawn up for a new transit system, but planners in Edmonton wanted to try something new, light rail. Edmonton was the genesis point for the LRT craze that would sweep the continent for the next 25 years, but they planned to do it a bit different than most American cities, or North American cities.
Damn.
Interesting. In the 60s, no less.
So Edmonton actually invented modern light rail.
So we're
Yeah, good
playing
for them.
second fiddle to Canada.
Well, as usual.
That's cool. And as early as the 60s, yeah. If you're in the US, it would have just been a metro, no questions asked.
They wanted a subway but knew they couldn't afford heavy rail, so compromised on a high-floor LRT system with a downtown subway.
Whoa, this is what light rail should be everywhere all the time. Don't change my mind, I'm right.
Better than Link with high floor.
Oh, yeah, this is true. Both of the Albertan light rail systems are better than Link in that regard, I will say. Or were.
I'm glad that they thought through that high floor good. Or maybe this was just far enough in the past that low floor vehicles still sucked. Because some pretty compelling low floor vehicles have come out fairly recently that did not exist in the 60s.
Work on the system's first line began in 1974, with space for tunnels being reserved underneath new downtown developments.
Forethought?
Huh?
At a price of less than $1 billion.
Yeah. I didn't actually do prices for this one, but...
Well, you don't need to because that was just a dig at San Francisco as usual.
Oh. You can't dig too much on San Francisco. They built a subway for $1 billion a mile, but New York built its most recent subway for like 4. So
Okay, well that was mostly just a dig at like all the Salesforce and CHSR downtown tunnel related stuff.
ugh. Yeah. Cost snake. Stop it.
Alex, can you do the sound? I can't do it. Thank you. Patrons,
So,
this is what you pay us for.
the first spur line opened in 1978, running for 4.3 miles between Central Station downtown and Belvedere to the northeast. The line was a big hit, carrying as many as 18,000 people per day by the end of the first year.
Holy crappin', 4,000 people per route mile.
Wouldn't that be more like closer to 5,000 or like 4,500?
Well, you're dividing by 4.3 miles. Also, I have a calculator. It's 4,186.
Oh, I guess the 0.3 does
But
a
your
lot.
numbers are approximate, so I'm doing sig figs. Yeah. That's what she said?
Okay, wow. Expansions were soon to follow. And I have a whole like litany here, so I apologize in advance.
All right, rapid fire. Let's go.
1981, further northeast to Clairview, which is the current terminus of the system in that direction. 1 stop. 1983, 2 more subway stations opened downtown as the LRT was expanded to the west.
Wow.
1989, a 1-stop expansion to the southwest brought the line to Government Center, another subway station. 1992, a 1-stop expansion south across the North Saskatchewan River brought the LRT to University Station and the University of Alberta.
This is like weirdly incremental. Like, why is it always like 1 or 2 stops?
Because in Canada, transit expansion is normally funded by cities instead of the federal government.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they got to do smaller bites, and the city's only going to be interested in the stops in their boundaries.
Well, and this isn't like a terrible way to build institutional knowledge and like constantly be building stuff, right?
That's true. I'm just used to the usual like state level roughly scale of transit projects, or like metro area level scale of transit projects, where if stuff is being chunked down into 1 or 2 stations at a time, you know, something went wrong 10 years ago and is still going wrong. But I guess if it's just the natural state of things, that's all right. Good for them.
So
That one was a dig at LA.
2006, yet another 1-stop expansion to health sciences, also on campus at the University of Alberta. 2009, a 2-stop expansion opened to the south. Coincidentally, 2009 is also the year that Edmonton retired its trolley bus fleet forever after a narrow 7-6 city council vote.
Rip.
Part of the justification for doing this is that it would have cost $100 million over 20 years to keep the trolleys going, and the city council wanted to focus on new light rail lines, especially the Valley Line, which has Genesis about this time.
Huh, that is only $5 million a year.
That's exactly my thought.
Which is like a lot, but you see what like the feds spend on buying people electric buses here? For like an environmentalist project, that's like not that much.
That's nothing.
Like, sure, not having trolley buses is cheaper, but it's also worse in terms of operations, service, and the environment.
Oh,
so...
no. 2010, another two-stop expansion to the south, finally bringing the LRT to its current southern extent.
I'm imagining each of these extensions is like specifically configured to be really easy to tack onto, like those little like wooden toy railroad tracks.
I think that they are.
I'm looking at the map right now, and I like how every line pretty much either ends at a shopping center or a hospital. It's very classic.
Just about.
Hey, high value end of lines. Like, I don't know what the hell we're doing over here.
And then also just massive bus loops at every station, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, in that case, I do know what the hell we're doing over here.
And then my final expansion of the original sort of system was in 2015, which saw the introduction of the system's second line after almost 30 years of service. The new Metro line, distinguished from the original, which was now called the Capital Line, ran northwest from downtown for 3 stops, then shared tracks with the Capital Line to the university, where it ends at Health Sciences Station. I think there were initially some peak-only services further to the south, but these seem to have been discontinued thanks to the Rona.
Lame.
I mean, not really. Peak-only services suck, but...
Sorry, it's my knee-jerk reaction to balk at any reduction in any service whatsoever.
That's fair.
Yeah. The Northwest extension has some, like, really god-awful road crossings.
It really
if you
does.
Hop on the satellite view, the angles are just special.
It's in a lot of degrees a departure from historic practice on this system, both in the fact that it has some street running and, as Kyle said, really weird street crossings.
I was gonna say it makes for nice broad curves. I guess that's nice operationally as long as it's not hitting anybody.
Oh, I don't think there have been like a huge number of people killed by this, so.
This is a good place to be in any light rail. I'm also noticing that the southeast line has some really beautiful side running.
I know, isn't it nice? Oh, the southeast line, which we haven't talked about yet, Kyle.
Oh, sorry. Spoilers. I'm canceled.
You are canceled for being woke. So, that brings us to the most recent line to be added to the system, the Valley Line. Ground was finally broken on the Valley Line, a low-floor light rail line separate from the other 2 services, in 2016 after 7 years of planning.
So, 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
One, what, geometric consideration made them want low floor in the first place? I understand that's usually something you choose so you can have stops in the median of, small downtown blocks. You don't have to worry about ramps. 2, how does it fit into the overall service as a separate line?
Well, the geometric consideration was, quote, fitting stations on downtown blocks, unquote. But I would like to point out that just to the south, Calgary has surface running light rail through its downtown and still uses high floor trains. So
I was going to say, does Calgary just double up blocks together to make a long platform?
I don't think they have to. I think their blocks are long enough. Like a 4-car train is only 400 feet. So
well, I know our blocks are long enough. Their blocks are probably just not as cool. 1 second, I'm measuring their blocks. Oh, 523 feet, which is
Easy.
enough to fit, I think, a four-car platform. Oh,
Easy.
and they have a different buff. They're doing like a little side running thing here.
Yeah, and they have yeah. So
Oh yeah, they got like a little transit mall with like side platforms, so that's less of a ramp issue.
so it really could have not been a problem, but they decided to do it anyway for whatever reason because we have to have low floor and high floor is bad or something. And it fits into the system in that it has like a cross interchange with the other two lines downtown
Well, that's cool, I suppose.
at Churchill Station, named after.
I mean, operationally, you don't want to be shoving one more line in the same tunnel.
No,
So-
but you could have like built another tunnel. Or an L.
Yeah, but it's what year?
I reckon that's true, but doesn't make me have to be happy about it, does it?
Yeah, no, that's true. Maybe another tunnel would be, in fact, a good idea.
So it's generally much more of an LRT than the light metro of the Capital and Metro lines. We hadn't discussed this yet, but the Capital and Metro lines are like quite extensively grade separated generally. Almost
Wait.
all.
Back up. They made another tunnel. But
I
it's
know,
just a
to
little
get into
shorty
downtown.
tunnel to get into downtown.
Uh-huh.
And then they just stopped, even though they maybe could have just not stopped.
Yes, that is what they
Bruh.
did.
Bruh. And it's all like lined up for the street and everything, and they just stopped.
Uh-huh.
They would have needed how many feet of tunnel? I'm measuring this right now, the untunneled section after it emerges from the portal. 3,200 feet of tunnel.
I mean, it would have been a complicated 3,200 feet because it has to interchange with the other two lines, but yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know, to get it like through downtown, it would have needed like a mile. But, you know, who needs through running on our eventually through running line, right?
Maybe about 2 miles total. But yeah, if they're eventually going to make it through running, maybe have some forethought, and instead of building 3,200 feet of surface track, build 3,200 feet of tunnel.
Just a thought.
Where's the fun in that?
And then if in like 2040, when it's time to extend it, and for some reason you can't do a tunnel, you could just do a tunnel portal and pull a San Francisco, and part of it can be nice and part of it can suck.
T-third, cough, cough, T-third.
Yeah, am I being blatant and on the nose enough with the digs at San Francisco and LA?
Somebody's
think
mad
so.
about San Francisco today. You just hate him because you ain't him is what's going on.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. Okay, so train downtown, whole new line, low floor trains, because all their friends are doing low floor trains, so how could they not?
Yeah. So basically, this one is very much like a classic light rail line, like a lot of street running, not particularly fast. Whereas the other two are basically light metro. They're, as I said a few minutes ago, pretty extensively grade separated, and where they're not grade separated, they have, generally speaking, absolute priority at intersections. So, yeah, this is a bit of a departure.
Which irritates me again, because the new low floor line is so close. Like, again, they need that 3,200 feet of tunnel downtown, and once they get out of downtown, they're sticking to, like, very, very major roads that have few intersections anyways, so absolute priority is not out of the question at all.
Yeah, I mean, there are even, yeah. So it was, I guess, not the best conceived. I understand that it was sort of value engineered to crap, as usual, but
And, well, they're also just copying what all their friends are doing.
yes, this is true.
Like, you've noticed that cities take a lot of peer pressure when it comes to building the latest and greatest in transit, and they always have.
Mm-hmm. So, things did not go smoothly in construction. There seemed to have been some major contracting issues because there were a whole bunch of like broken things, and construction took 3 years longer than expected. The line was
Jeez.
supposed to open in 2020, but didn't go online until late last year.
Oof. This is okay. I get this when it happens to like mega projects and like stuff with tunnels, and you're tunneling through archaeological sites and sewer mains that nobody knew existed and what have you. But this is a surface running light rail. This is like road construction, but there happens to be rails in it. Like what?
Mm-hmm. So that brings us to the system as it exists today. Very good ridership recovery. I believe greater than 2019 levels as of recently, largely
Woohoo.
to do with a very extensive bus redesign that they did a couple years ago, which has yielded
Ooh.
excellent results. And I have linked a map of their bus system for you here, so you can sort of see the insane manner in which
We map
Canadians
it on
serve the
G.
suburbs.
Yeah, that's insane.
Very much. I love all these like round squiggly buses that look like they're going into like individual subdivisions.
Well, they are.
Wow. And the subdivisions were, oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm looking at this on the map too, and it looks like the subdivisions were actually designed and built in a way that could be served by a bus.
Concept.
Jeez, Canadians doing it right again.
Okay, and also I want you two to look at the stations and like look how many bus lines go to all of them. Like Century Park down here has like 20 bus routes going to it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Like I do wonder what the frequency of all of these is, but it really like you can go everywhere.
Mill Woods has what looks like every bus ever.
And if you look at the sort of bus loops at all of these stations, you sort of get it. Like, oh,
Yeah, I can see why they have giant bus loops. Like UTA builds giant bus loops just for the hell of it, and probably for land banking that they're never going to unbank, and or that they're never going to withdraw, if you will. But here they actually seem to use them.
yeah,
That's insane.
it is insane.
Like I wonder what percentage of the like entire population of Edmonton is within like a quarter mile or a half mile of a bus.
Of the city of Edmonton, probably 100%.
Yeah. What about the whole metro, you think?
You know, so service outside the city is not nearly so good because they have their own transit agencies, whereas Edmonton Transit Service is just for the city of Edmonton.
And we did compare this to Denver earlier, but it would not appear that they have. It would appear that they do not have a commuter rail.
No, which, whatever.
Well, and then I'm also noticing in terms of sprawl, most of this seems to be contained inside of their ring road. And of course, there's some bits poking off, but I'm seeing lots of open farmland right outside the ring road. Like this is impressive.
Well, and the bits that are poking off are generally other municipalities, so.
Do you know if public transit in Canada is like less political because it's more local than federal?
It is certainly less political. I don't know if that's the reason, but generally speaking, it is much less political.
I mean, I would bet it's also because everybody can and does seem to use it, right?
I reckon.
Like just in Utah, there's a huge like class divide over who uses transit because it does not go in every subdivision. So the people who live in the subdivisions can't take it even if they want to.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is a big mall.
That's what she said.
So this naturally, there was huge pre-pandemic ridership on the LRT. 113,000 daily riders on 16 miles of track.
You mean of route?
No, of track.
So 8 miles of route? That doesn't seem right.
No, of track. Like 16 miles of track, and then there's more route than that because some of the routes overlap. Are we talking about different things?
No, route miles just means exclude, without double counting the sections that have multiple lines, just count the extent of all the lines. Track miles means physical miles of track. So double track has twice as much track.
Yeah,
per
when I say
distance.
track, I always mean double track.
Nobody else means that when they say
Well,
that.
they're stupid.
So anyways, 113,000 daily riders divided by 16 route miles gives you 7,000 riders per mile. That's actually like batshit insane high for a slightly souped up light rail.
And I mean, this is certainly not hurt by the fact that downtown Edmonton is like one of the most concentrated job markets in North America.
Are we saying that maybe Edmonton is like capable of building a city and suburbs, and other places are sucking at this at the moment?
I mean, it is sort of the platonic ideal of the North American city, but most people get there using transit instead of a car. So
yeah, like our title complaint about the American suburb is the car dependency. Like you can have that and just have, sustainable and scalable transportation. So maybe it's okay.
Shocking. I am shocked.
Like it just irritates me how like close this is to what everybody else is doing with their cities and suburbs, and yet how huge the difference in transportation is. Like all they gotta do is contain the sprawl in that little beltway. They gotta build the suburbs so the subdivisions so you can actually run buses through them. Then they have to actually run buses through them and build a quality downtown with lots of amenities and jobs, and we're off to the races and we have a functioning city.
And the Canadians living the American dream.
Honestly,
yeah, but for
Canadians are actually living the American dream.
Are they actually better at the American dream than we are?
The North American dream.
Yeah.
Very embarrassing for us, gotta be real.
Yeah.
So, the system today is only 23 miles long and has a daily ridership of something like 90,000 because the pandemic has hit it harder than the buses because downtown office commutes, But it'll get back someday. As far as future extensions go, there are a lot planned. The Valley Line West will take the Valley Line from its terminus downtown to the west, fairly self-explanatory, including the West Edmonton Mall, which is the largest mall in the world.
Holy crap.
And if you look at it on Google
American
Maps,
dream,
it's like a half
American.
mile long.
I mean, I guess that's pretty big for Canada.
There is a water park in it and also an amusement park.
Bruh. They are actually living the American dream. I want a mall with a water park, an amusement park, and a light rail extension.
I mean, the reason that it exists is probably because weather in Edmonton is so completely miserable all the time.
You need something to cheer you up.
If you want to leave the house, you have to go somewhere that is inside.
Could the weather also be driving the ridership if people just absolutely don't want to drive in the awful snow?
It's possible, but if you live in a place with a lot of snow like that, you really do get used to it.
Yeah, I guess
I haven't met anybody who just lives in a place with snow and doesn't like driving in a place with snow. They're just like stuck up about being a good snow driver and how everybody else is shit at driving in the snow, which is true, but indicative that they don't hate it.
So there are also this like sort of more speculative plan down below, which has something that looks suspiciously like a radial line. So that's kind of interesting.
What do you mean a radial line? Aren't they all radial
or
lines?
not radial, circumferential.
Intriguing.
I like the ambition. I also like the
Yeah.
funny little subset map, which shows like the 4 stops downtown.
It's kind of cute, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, that's a bit ridiculous.
I
but
love to
yeah.
have a station named Alex Decato.
I don't know. I like the Churchill one.
Corona.
But looking at these expansion plans. It really shows just like how much value they could have gotten out of doing those 3,200 feet of downtown tunneling.
Yeah, you see what I was talking about now.
Because like it doesn't matter now. It's just there's like 2 stations at the end of the line or whatever. But once it through runs, that downtown part is going to suck for the riders because it's slow and unreliable, and the drivers will complain because they get less green time.
Well, and funnily enough, Calgary learned this lesson because they initially have a street running line through their downtown, but the low 4 tram line that they're building will go through a subway downtown instead of on the surface.
Smart. Oh, that's another good point. If Edmonton had done those 3,200 feet of tunneling, then they could have built the entire thing high floor and future-proofed it much better, because now they're kind of stuck with low floor forever till the end of time.
Which is not ideal.
To say the least. Cough, cough, Seattle. Cough, cough. Was that dig not obvious enough?
No, I couldn't tell. Where were you talking about? Portland. Oh, sorry. That's a light rail system that's screwed for a whole different set of reasons.
Yeah, no, Portland's all right. Their tiny wuss blocks were a lost cause
Until they build a subway, which will
One of
cost like
these
$20
decades.
billion. Yeah.
I was gonna say, are they still planning that? Are they gonna build it yet before it costs more than like the GDP of the country?
I think they're actively planning it now, as opposed to sort of passively
To
thinking
passively
about
planning
building it
it.
before.
They've started environmental.
Something
Presumably.
like that. Yeah.
One can hope.
So
Oh, speaking of light rail, I'm map foaming some more, and it's very interesting their approach to the freeway crossings. Instead of grade separating over the entire interchange, they're only grade separated over the freeway, and they just cross on and off ramps and hope for the best.
yeah, that's kind of nuts, isn't it?
Not sure I like that, especially since they're already paying for a bridge span.
Oh, I'm sure I like that. I like that very much.
They're just relying on
You-
Canadian niceness not
you
to
do,
hit the
yeah.
train.
God
Yeah.
bless Canada. No? Okay.
Oh, say, can you, Canada, in the dawn's early light, because we get no sunlight, we're so far north.
Why don't you just sing "Oh Canada"?
I don't
Our
remember the
home
tune.
and native land. True,
True
patriot, love.
love.
In all of us command. Glorious we see thee rise, the true north. Yeah, anyway.
Do, 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 do.
But it's woke now, so we can't like it.
Woke Canada, we... I don't know, so on and so forth.
We woke up and wit based.
True
So
to
Edmonton, a
the
model for us
light.
all? Question mark, and the answer is yes. So
Yes, actually.
please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or to follow and leave us a rating on iTunes and / or Spotify. If you like what we do here, consider becoming a member on Patreon. Patrons receive early
Slow
access to all of our
down.
episodes, as well as exclusive content and occasional merch drops. Speaking of patrons,
I'm working on it.
come on, Kyle.
You-
Somebody slapped Kyle
you-
upside the head.
And is this why we do this remote now?
Probably to stop me from being violent.
Hmm.
At Redline tier, $10 plus a month, we have Zach Adams, Aaron, Curtis Herring, Devin Zander, Phobos2390, and Tony Stunts.
That plus is really carrying the weight of the world, isn't it?
Hey, there's what? There's a $20 and a $69.69 from Zach Adams.
I love that.
At Valley Line tier, $5 a month, we have DJ. Wait, oh no, it's not sorted right. No,
Alex is
1
having a
second.
skill issue, folks.
I am actually. This never happens.
In
I
a
swear.
very rare instance.
Yeah.
I don't know that
Okay.
it is rare. Owned.
Okay, chill. Christopher Whaley, DJ.
I will.
Watkins, Elijah Kensler, G4, Isaac Madsen, Jesse Mayo, Nebula, Reluctant LA Resident, Robert P. Walsh, and Zephyr Zamoro.
At Bay Enterprise Square Station Tier, which is a, quote, vital and convenient part of Edmonton's transit system, close quote, according to a 4-star review left 4 months ago on Google, tier, $3 a month, we have Alex Dykelski, Alice MYOB, Ben, Ethan McDonald, Evelyn, Jack McCoskey, Litmus Zest, Martine Hecker-Martinez, Matt Gray, McKay Ransom, Oliver, Sam Myers, Sky Lukowski, and Zach Verstaat.
And at Metroline tier, we have Benjamin Wood, Joshua S. Horvath, Capil, Ryan Bailey, Toronto Transit Channel, and William Rowe. Thanks for listening.
Thank you all.
Also, I would like to
really
point out to the
went
viewers
off.
just how horrible Edmonton's via rail station is.
Oh, right. I forgot about Via Rail. Via Rail.
Because not only
Viva la
do
rail.
they have to use a Y to get to it and get back on the track, like it's not actually on the main line.
Gross.
It is also an the Canadian equivalent of an Amshack.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture now.
Ouch.
I mean, it's pretty nice for an Amshack, but still.
Yeah, that beats Salt Lake Central.
I don't know. Salt Lake Central, you can get there on transit.
Wait, you can't. Where is this one?
Look it up.
I'm on Open
It's-
Railway map right now. And
12360 121 Street, Northwest Edmonton, Alberta.
Oh, I found it. Why the hell did they put it on a Y? Do they just hate themselves? You could have just put it somewhere else.
Okay, and the funny thing is, the main line it goes on crosses over the light rail track. So they could
have put it
potentially
maybe
have built
down
a
there.
transfer station there.
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
Oh, at least they have service.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
Incomprehensibly lame and horrible.
Thanks, Justin Trudeau.
Oh my god, the
Justin
absolute
Biden.
foamers. The absolute foamers on Open Railway map have already put dotted lines on the planned extensions of this system.
Of course they have.
Of course they have.
That's how I built it in NIMBY Rails. Okay, well, that's the episode, folks.
GG. That stands for good episode, but there's a G in the episode.
The G is silent.
Yeah. This is English.
The G in episode is silent.
In episode.
I love to have a gepisode. I have a gepisode every day.
100 episodes.